Looking to learn life lessons without going through the experience? You've come to the right place. Welcome to Hidden Struggles with your host, Lady C.
Hi, this is Lady C. Welcome to Hidden Struggles. In the upcoming episode, I have a very good and trusted friend, and he is a retired United States Air Force colonel. He has a background in teaching personality and self-awareness classes at Park University, and he also is associated with the Alexandria School Board. And I have known him for many years. He has schooled me through a whole lot of issues and just a wealth of knowledge. And so when he agreed to be on my podcast to talk about the issues with personality tests and self-awareness, I was so excited to have him here. And so I'd like to welcome to the platform, to my channel, Mr. Charles Wilson.
Thank you, Lady C, for having me here. I appreciate the opportunity to share my experiences and hope it might benefit the members of your audience.
And, and Charles, I'm so glad that you, agreed to come on this program, because I have been so passionate about this topic of, personality quizzes and tests and all that kind of stuff, as well as being self-aware. Because when you're one of Jehovah's Witnesses, it is so hard when you leave the organization, because you have been given a script and people tell you how to make decisions, and everything about your life is scripted for you.
Certainly.
Yeah. And so when you leave, it's like, oh my goodness, what do I do now? And I find that there's so many people that when they leave, they're so used to being told what to do that they don't even know how to get started in their life or how to explore the world that we live in to even enjoy the newfound freedom that they have from that tightly controlled religion. I would like for you to share your experience with how you taught the personality testing when you were teaching at Park.
Be glad to.
Okay.
In college, I studied organizational psychology, and I was really passionate about organizations and how they work. I read a study of Dr. Janis from Yale's who talked about groupthink. When everybody's thinking the same way, they don't test assumptions and stuff, and the outcomes are usually bad because of that. So, like it is with the military or with Jehovah's Witnesses, you're in a structured environment with strict rules and stuff. But being self-aware is very important, and having exposure to diverse opinions and attitudes is beneficial to almost anyone.
So, you want to give me an example of one of the type of tests that a person can take that can begin to help them get involved in seeing how they can be more aware of themselves?
Well, a popular one is the Myers-Briggs personality test. It's an inventory of personalities test that can result in a label, if you would. Yeah, the difference between being an extrovert and an introvert, and the types of ways you interpret the world and react to the world. It's not as precise as people think, but folks really enjoy the personality test, and they take away what they think is good for them and tend to reject what they doesn't like. That's normal.
Yeah. I know we talked about that off camera, about how what Charles is saying right now is, if a person finds something positive about their personality and they see a question that comes up in the test, they may gravitate toward the answer that gives them that more polished, that more positive means. So like if you're going to be doing a personality test, and we talked quite a bit, Charles and I, about that. In fact, he gave me a book about the personality tests and everything, and different types of tests you could take. And I've just been intrigued with it ever since, because I deal with so many difficult personalities in my life, and I'm trying to navigate the waters and make sure that I'm, doing the right thing around the right people, because they're going to, take away something different if you come at them a certain way, if they have a certain type of personality. And so, so a lot of times, like I think you had mentioned off camera about how sometimes the personality test could not be a good thing if people are not really honest with their assessment.
That's true. And the tests can be manipulated somewhat, especially those that are open and subjective, like the Rorschach test, where you look at image and you're trying to interpret what that means. But the purpose of that test is to get you to give more, come out more, and you get more of the things rather than having multiple choice tests where you answer questions and where you can change how you answer depending on how you feel that day.
Right.
The other test that I think is better is called the DISC test. The D standing for dominance. This is a type of person who will be the leader in a group. They're the person who would probably wind up being an outside salesman or a senator or a person who's in charge of the group, who takes charge of a group. Next is the influencer. This is the glue that holds organizations together, like the person who would set up birthday parties or buy gifts. They're the people that hold things together. Then there's the S. That's the person that's steady. It's usually about 34%. The other three are about 17%, roughly. And this is the person that doesn't get in any trouble. They do their jobs. They're steady. They're always on time. They don't go up. They don't go down. Just regular people. And this is most of the folks. And last is the compliant guy or person. This is the person who likes to concentrate by themselves with their heads down. They don't get a lot of energy from being around other people. They get energy just by being in their own world, doing their own thing with their own rules. These are the accountants. These are the people who deal with figures and stuff. And these are the people who don't get energized by being in charge of groups or socializing with others.
Excellent. So it's DISC. So D standing for
Dominance.
I.
Influencer.
S.
Steady.
C.
Compliance.
All right. So then at that point, people need to kind of Google this test to find out which one of these letters they are. And could they be a combination of letters?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And it's not either or, because it's really more of a combination. It's the letters represent your favorite channel, if that's the way you want to look at, of how you behave, how you interpret the world, and where you rather be.
Since I've been on YouTube, I receive a lot of email from my other YouTube channel and stuff, and people are asking questions about what they should do with their life, what should I believe? And of course, I can't tell people what to do with their life and what to believe, but I think that the personality test should really give them a gauge of who they are as a person first.
Okay.
So that they can figure out what part of society they want to belong to or what they want to do. If you leave the Jehovah's Witness religion, they are told that you're a bad person, you're not going to be in God's favor, and you've just done everything wrong. So when people wake up from the religion and they leave, because they've always been taught that the only right way to be is at this Kingdom Hall, reading the Watchtower. If they're doing that, then they're doing all right. So when they leave, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to live. They don't know what kind of choices to make about life and everything. And so that's why Charles is saying that, being self-aware. And part of that self-awareness is learning about who you are. Now, how can you speak to what I'm saying about the self-awareness and what I just explained about the Jehovah's Witnesses?
Yes. Well, one thing about the test, the best way to find out what you are is ask your best friend, your most honest best friend, to give you feedback. That helps your self-awareness much better than a pen and paper test. The other thing is to diversify your exposure. For example, there's some people who only watch Fox News. There's other people who only watch NBC News. A better way to get aware of what's happening in the world is watch both, the left and the right, and the up and the down. That's where the ex-Jehovah Witnesses really need, the same as retired military people, to expose themselves to something else.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's what our problem is. I think our problem has been that we have been told that we have to look at life through this colored glasses, through this lens. Mm-hmm. And when you leave, I don't care what no one says. If a person wakes up to learn that they've been lied to, but then no one ever tells them how to correct the lie or how to start marching in a different direction, they're still kind of lost.
Yes, they are. There's philosophers who say, when you come to a crook in the road, take them both.
Right. Okay. That's a good analogy. Yeah. Because you're trying to figure out where you got to be. Mm-hmm. But I don't want people to leave a high cost religion, because it doesn't necessarily just have to be Jehovah's Witness. It could be anything. But I would hate for someone to leave a group that was misleading them, giving them false information, leave, and then they don't grow. Because the whole idea is you need to get the information that you didn't get before. But how do you do that?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you about my brother. He's a Marine, former Marine. And the one thing he keeps saying is once a Marine, always a Marine. And he still wakes up and expects his kids to salute him in the morning and say, sir. But like maybe the Jehovah's Witnesses, the military folks are like a cult in a certain way. And if they go out and get jobs related to their former job, they will not have an opportunity to diversify and become aware of everything else. So it's about broadening your your awareness, not only self-awareness, but awareness of other people too.
Exactly.
So
yeah, I think what you just said makes a good point where he just said not just being aware of yourself, but being aware of other people, because I also get that mix of people that they're so frustrated about their own personal experience that they don't see that somebody else had some other experience that may be worse than them. And so they're so busy, being so consumed with how bad they were treated that they're not seeing other people.
Yes. And I'll give you some personal examples. I've been in situations where I was dealing with someone who was very angry, and I was really working hard on trying to change them. But with counseling, I learned that maybe it's better not to work so hard on changing that person, but changing the way I reacted to that person's anger. And that made all the difference in the world.
Exactly. Right.
And, again, self-awareness, understanding your personality, as well as other people, probably is more important to understand other people, because you, like I said many times, your best friend will let you know, as long as they have enough courage to tell you what you may not want to hear, and enough courage for you to listen to something you don't want to hear.
Yeah, I totally agree, because sometimes I need help when I'm filling out forms, and especially when you got to do a self-evaluation. When I tell you that is probably the worst for me, is to self-evaluate myself. I know who I am and what I want to do and what I want to be. But maybe my personality type, if I was to assess myself, I might not be true to that test. Somebody else may see me differently than I see myself because I want to gravitate to, like you said earlier, that more positive or that more something that's going to make you look better than you actually are. Because first of all, if you're not aware of yourself and you're not aware of maybe some flaws, because I like to be aware of my flaws.
Yes. Well, many people do not. and especially when you have to deal with strong personalities, it may take a lot extra effort and knowledge to understand how to deal with a strong personality. The reverse can be true, where you're the strong personality. Maybe you need help to be more sympathetic or empathetic to someone else.
Yeah. And then looking at how you work. Like if you're in the workforce and, everybody's looking at you as the person that gets your way all the time. And you're like, oh, I'm not going to bend. I'm not going to look at somebody else's opportunity to change something because we've been doing this way for the last 10 years before you got here, right? So that person, they're not willing to bend or change with technology. It's the same thing with your personal life. It's like if you wake up every day and they always say that when you are out here, you should do things different. Like if you go home the same way every day, you may not see that they're building something on the other side of your development or where you live at because you don't know that these new homes are going up or this new grocery store because every day you go home, it's the same way that you go home. So the same thing with life. It's like in life, you got to make the change to see that if you tried something different, maybe you would get different results than you get. Because like some people complain a lot about my life is so miserable. I can't seem to get anywhere. But are you still doing things the same way?
Yeah, sometimes life is miserable because things are changing around you and you're not adjusting to it. So the thing to remember is change is inevitable. It's going to happen. And we have to be flexible to adjust to that. And again, I go back to the two illustrations, the ex-military person or the ex-Jehovah Witness or even the Christian who only sees things one way. They may have a hard time if they don't explore and experience and anticipate and adjust to changes that are inevitable.
And we call those growing pains, right?
Yes.
But sometimes you have to be willing to try something different.
Well, people do things for their own reason.
Yeah.
Example is my son was on the football team, the high school, the famous T.C. Williams. And he said he cannot eat bananas because they're too slimy and they just two things. The coach told him that he would be stronger and faster if he ate bananas. Then all of a sudden, they were his favorite foods because he got the right reason. And so sometimes in your life, dealing with different personnel, people don't do things because you ask them to. They do things because you give them their reasons why they should do something.
That's a good example.
Okay.
That's a really good example. I think it's a good example because he went from hating something to loving something because it was going to do what? Benefit him. But it was his reason, not my reason. I told him about the good for vitamins, the good vegetables, and his reason. If I told him they make you stronger and taller and stuff like that. So that's the thing to remember about everything. When you're dealing with people, you know their personality, you get a good idea about their reasons for doing or not doing. That's true.
You look at the commercials on TV about smoking, and what they say, you should stop smoking. Because is it because your health is bad? And the commercial says, no, it's because you'll be around for your kids longer. And that makes more sense.
Absolutely.
To that personality.
Exactly. We could talk about this topic all day long and really just, like pounce on a few things, a whole lot of things. But the whole idea of this podcast is to help people to be more aware of themselves.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah, the bottom line is self-awareness because, there's a lot of different ways that you can change your environment. And you can put 3 or 4 people in the same situation, the exact same situation. Let's say they're on a boat that's about to sink. Mm-hmm. All of them could have 3 different ways of surviving. Mm-hmm. It's not really the fact that you're in the same situation. Mm-hmm. It's how you look at how you're going to solve the problem.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to add another thought that remember we discussed the director, the person who's always in charge and always leading. Mm-hmm. And we heard about the influencer, the one that the glue that holds the group together. And the steady person that follows the rules and goes along and not this way or that way. And the compliant, the one that follow the rule to the T, dot the I, cross the T. Is that a problem? No. It's good to have a team of 5 people, one in charge, the director, the social one that holds the group together, and the steady people, you 2 of them that do the daily work day in and out, and the person that knows the rules and reminds us of what they are. So that's why I like the DISC test, because it explains how to deal with each other. It also shows why having that diverse group together produces more self-awareness and produces a better outcome for the committee or the group or stuff like that. The Bay of Pigs, the Cuba disaster, is an example of all these smart people working together, but they all had the same mindset. Nobody questioned each other because they thought, well, if he says so, he's smart, I must go along. No, we always need what we might call a devil's advocate in our life who will let us know, whether we like it or not, what the situation is, what reality is. And it's difficult for some people to understand what's really going on and why. Mm-hmm. So having different experiences and different things. And my final thing goes back to is associate yourself with different personalities, with different points of view, different ages, different groups. And please do not be stuck with one group, one experience, one person who directs your life and your life's experiences. And again, the military people and many religious groups that can cause you to behave like you're in a cult. Mm-hmm.
Now, you know what? You made a good point, and I really agree with what you're saying about the, expose yourself to different people and not just be with one group, because like you said about the Bay of Pigs and how the person is looking out and saying, there's no way I could actually be smarter than this person. Mm-hmm. That was my experience with Jehovah's Witnesses. Because in the Jehovah's Witness faith, they teach that women are to be quiet. Mm-hmm. We are to, go to the Kingdom Hall. We're to be seen and not heard and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I remember sitting at the Kingdom Hall one day and they were having a lesson that we were studying and I didn't agree with something. I can't remember what it was. And in the back of my mind, I said, but you're not smart. You're supposed to be here. You're supposed to be seen, not heard. Mm-hmm. And so I just dismissed that point because I felt like this already has been explained to me. And there's no reason for me to try to go against what I was being taught. And this is so dangerous. Is there anything else that you would like to share with my audience about being self-aware and how it relates to personality tests?
The best thing I can say is expose yourself to different points of view, different people, different ages, different religion, different races, different cultures. That exposure helps you. They say that people who travel a lot, who go overseas, they can enjoy many different kinds of food, many different kind of music, different kind of dances. But if you in that same place, not just the same location, but the same place in your mind, you'll never grow or develop or experience life as such.
You had mentioned about the military and everything. What I find about military, it had to do with the person on my job that believed in the chain of command. And so even though I'm a civilian working in a civilian environment, there's a guy who works in the Navy. He was a retired Marine, but he believed in the chain of command. So if you had an issue that was going on, you had to go through that channel. And if you didn't go through the channel, he was trying to make it like you were going outside of your scope of your work and making you seem like you were being a troublemaker and stuff like that. So these are the kind of things that people deal with when you're dealing with people that's in the military and also working in a high cost religion and other institutions, because they also say that the institution of higher learning is the same thing, same way.
To somewhat, yeah. And that's why tenure in the university culture is so important, because you have tenure only if you go by the rules, if you stay within your lane. But if you get outside your lane in a university environment, they can fire you for no reason, just because you didn't go along with the group think. And military officers the same way. Like in the Air Force, is very religious oriented. And if you don't act like you are a Christian, it's very difficult to reach higher levels above captain or major.
Oh, in the Air
Force? Yeah. Each one of the service has a different personality. In the Marines, it's about physical fitness and machismo. Masculinity is very important in Marines. Look good, no stomach, run miles. In the Army, it's about loyalty. I have a personal example. When I was at the Defense Logistics Agency, I had a major who worked for me, and she did not like decisions I made, where she said, Colonel Wilson is degrading the people we hire, when he told us we didn't have to hire the top of the list because everybody on the list was eligible and qualified. And this subordinate officer felt I should always take the person at the top of the list. And I said, no, these persons at the top of the list were usually overqualified, and they only wanted to get their foot in the door to my job. So she went to my boss, a general, and said, what Colonel Wilson is doing was wrong. He just wants to hire the lower quality people instead of the women who had PhDs to do a clerk's job.
Oh.
So
why'd they apply for the job?
To get in the door, like civil service.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
They come in from overseas, got a PhD, and they want a typing job. They will not stay. They just,
okay, I got you, right.
Okay. So what I'm saying this because this officer went to my boss and told them that what I was doing. My boss, to him, loyalty is more important than the substance of what you're talking about. Her note says, for your eyes only. This is what Colonel Wilson is doing. He says, it's not that important what he's doing. What's important, you're going over his back and throughout the chain of command. In the Army, we don't do that.
Okay.
So I don't care what he's saying. Now I'm disturbed that here you are going over his back. So if I were your boss, you probably would go over my back.
Yes.
That's the Army's obsession with chain of command.
But you know what, though, Charles, and this is a good discussion to have because I feel like when people are in the workforce or just dealing with people in general, sometimes we may not know why we're getting bad results because of the people that we're coming to work with. And we don't know what their background is. And so, like you said, if you would go behind his back, you might go behind mine.
Right.
So if someone is in the office talking about somebody, or if it is true or not, then it could be a situation where now you're not going to be considered for a job because I don't know who it was. But somebody told me, we're having this conversation, and they said, when you get into an office and you know too much, that might be the reason why you don't get that job.
That's true.
Because of the fact that if you're so efficient and somebody that you're going to be working with or working for could be doing something that's not so great, that they don't want to uncover, they might not want you in that position because they may feel like you're going to uncover something that they're doing.
It's it's not that you know too much. It's that you may act like you know too much. There's a lot of people like the S's I talked about in part of personality. Those type of personalities, they don't brag about what they know.
Oh, the steady people?
The steady people.
Oh, okay.
They're common, ordinary, do it. Now, the D's, they'll challenge you. They'll challenge their people. They tell you what to do. They tell you what they know. The clients people.
The directors?
The directors, yeah. The compliance guys, their heads down, ass up. No controversy, no problems, as long as you follow the rules. Cross your T's and dot your I's correctly.
Okay.
But the people you have problems with would be the D's and the I's.
The influencers.
Influencers.
And the directors. Okay.
That run around gossiping.
Oh.
They're the people who go buy expensive birthday gifts for everybody in the office. They're the people that will call you at home to talk about what's going on in the office.
Okay.
And they're the ones that are funny, outgoing.
So that means that when you go work someplace or you were hanging out with somebody, that person that has that gregarious personality, you got to worry about them sometimes, maybe?
You do. They're the gossipers.
Okay.
They're the people that you won't keep a secret.
Oh. Okay.
And they're mostly women.
Shame on you.
But
it's mostly women. Okay.
There's a book I told you about. When I was at the Pentagon, I hired a lot of people who wrote books to come in and talk to my group, with mostly women, but these were women in the government, in the Defense Department, that were considered high potential people.
Okay.
And my job was to kind of get them to be more like military people. Well, actually, to convert them, like Jehovah's convert. And
right.
It was a demonstration for a test. But anyway, the lady, I think I sent you that book. It's a little red book called Why Jenny Can't Lead.
Oh, Why Jenny Can't Lead. Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, and Why Jenny Can't Lead. See, the woman's personality tends to be different than the man's. And the higher up you go, the more that happens. And when Jenny said in her book, I took her overseas with me, where we did demonstrations and tests. She says, years ago, maybe this has changed now, but women, when they go to school, they usually didn't play team sports. They were individual. They were tennis star, diving. Those are not team sports per se. But men, for example, on a football team, will throw the football to the person who's the fastest. Women, on the other hand, would throw the football to the person they like the most personally, not necessarily fastest one.
Okay.
And why is that? That's because men were accustomed to playing team sports and they do what's best for the group. But women tend to do what's best for their friend, the person they like, the person they trusted.
Okay.
Now that's changing now because the environment is changing, where women now, was it Title IX, now allows women more freedom. So it is changing, but back then, that was 40 years ago.
Okay.
So white Jenny can't lead was true then, is still true today, but not as much as before.
Okay. Well, you know something, then let me ask you this question. In our activism online as former Jehovah's Witnesses, we are finding that there are more men that leave this religion than their wives.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are finding themselves in divorce court because the woman won't leave this religion. She's decided that I'm not leaving. I don't care what kind of evidence you have. I don't want to hear. What do you think, based on what you know about what you're saying about these team events and things like that, influencers and things, what makes you think, why do you think these women choose to stay?
Well, this is my opinion. The man will leave easier because he values the freedom more. Freedom. I can do what I want, go where I want, get the job I want, even if it's not compliant with Jehovah's Witnesses type thing. The masculine seeks freedom more so than the woman. First, the woman has to take care of the kids. The man usually has to make a living. So that's bottom line. More freedom. The man would look for the freedom more than the woman because they can and probably need to.
Well, let me say this. Let me throw it out here. Let me give you a little bit more context. Okay. As a Jehovah's Witness female, you're very limited in how the leadership works because you're not allowed to be part of those meetings, to be in the decision making of anything. But the man, he's right there. He's at the helm of stuff. He's going to see things that you don't see. So if he's in these groups, in these meetings, he's going to see the lies that's being told. The man has knowledge that you don't have. So it's almost like a person that goes to somebody's house and all they see is, oh, the house is clean every time I come. The wife is smiling. She's doing all this stuff. But the kids that live there, they know what you don't know.
That's true.
So the husband is at the meetings with the brothers at, like the leadership. He's getting the elders' letters or whatever. He's getting instructions. And if he's not sharing the information with the wife, she's not seeing all the inner workings of what's going on. And he sees that. And I think that's the reason why a lot of men leave. And the woman, because like my husband shared that information with me. He was frustrated with the leadership and the things that was going on and the teachings that were changing that he knew he was preparing talks for that's now changing, but the woman doesn't get that.
Well, then that's boiled down to proximity to the knowledge and information.
Oh.
In 3 words.
Okay, so he has the information that she doesn't have.
Information is different from knowledge. Information is bits of this, bits of that. But a little bit more. Knowledge is a higher level than just information. Information can be interpreted different ways.
Okay.
Knowledge is an understanding of that information.
Okay.
So you're right, but I'm just saying I'm choosing a more accurate word of what that man is getting that the woman doesn't.
Yeah.
Knowledge.
Mm-hmm. It's like you don't understand. Like if I tell you about how crazy my job is and how the people don't do this and that, and then you're listening to me speak, but you don't know the personalities involved or the processes that must be followed. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I think that, Lady C is making this up and this and that. And then all of a sudden you are in that environment and you're like, oh my God, I see what you're saying. But I think that if women were privy to more information that the man is privy to in this religion, they would probably wake up in more droves than what they are.
I think so. That's true with Congress, where now Congress has more women than they ever had before, and it's actually changing that body in many ways. And also, there's studies that says that major corporations, if you have women involved in the boards, the decision makers, those companies become more sensitive to their customers because they have a more diverse governance. And example was one of the car companies that I think it was Toyota, who had a car called Nova. In Spanish, that word Nova means no good. So it was a Spanish person they had in charge who had to explain that to them to change the thing. And so many times having that diversity.
The diversity that people are trying to change today now.
Right. Because with change is inevitable, you need some people who can alert you to the changes that's needed. And you need different kinds of personalities. And that's why one of the things the military has this idea is that's the way we've always done it. The Jehovah's Witnesses, this is what we always did and what we always supposed to continue to do. So both groups are good examples of organizations that need to grow and change and diversify.
Absolutely.
And that's where the tests come in. When you're dealing with these groups and these people, you got to know where they're coming from.
Absolutely.
And how to deal with the differences in them. That's the bottom line. That's
true. Well, Charles, I really want to thank you so much for being part of Hidden Struggles today and coming out and sharing your experiences and what you know about self-awareness and personality tests. And for all of my listening audience, I hope this all made sense and you're able to understand that institutions are going to make you have to do things a specific way. You have to learn how to survive in the institution because there's a lot of different institutions that we cannot avoid. Now, if we don't like our religious denomination, we can change. But a lot of times you're working in organizations, you just can't walk off your job. You know what I'm saying? You got to be there. The people that's going to school, going to get educated, you got to go to college. You got as they say, some education is better than no education. So you got to deal with the differences of these institutions.
Okay.
But at some point, you have to learn how to understand who you are.
Okay.
And where you want to be in life. And I think that's really the essence of what we're trying to stay in this conversation too, is in order for you to grow as a person, you need to find out who you are and be aware of, where you're trying to go.
Absolutely.
Would you agree with me?
I agree with you, and I want to leave you with this. It's better not to just survive, but to thrive. And that's where we should shoot for. And that is about diversification, which leads to self-awareness of yourself and others.
Couldn't have said it better. All right. Well, I want to thank you all for being in my audience. Thank you so much, Charles, for being here.
Okay. I'm really grateful for the chance to participate and hope someone benefits.
Absolutely. This has been Lady C, and I'll see you all on the next episode.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks so much for listening to Hidden Struggles with your host, Lady C. This program was sponsored by Critical Thinkers, online at hiddenstruggle.com. Feel free to send an email to info@hiddenstruggle.com, and we'll catch you next time on Hidden Struggles. The views and opinions of our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Critical Thinkers.